I discovered this sub while with my friend, Julia, who is with me as I'm typing this out, because we just got back from a camping trip where we experienced the scariest thing either of us has ever experienced. So Julia and I are both women in our early 20s, and we were out camping in a remote area of Montana that isn't super popular, but it's still fairly popular amongst locals who camp a lot like we do. Which meant it wasn't super unusual when we saw a group of three guys who looked to be a little older than us drive past our camp about an hour after we set up our chairs and table. We just assumed that they were searching for a good spot to camp. But then, when the car was still in our sight through the trees, we saw it turn around, and as it was driving back, we both noticed one of the guys sticking his phone out the window and seemed to be recording us. Both of us thought it was really weird, and I walked a bit closer to take a picture of their license plate as a safety measure. But when I got closer, I saw that the back plate had all the numbers covered with black paint. Julia and I both got bad vibes from this, but both of us are aware that men are creeps towards women all the time, and both of us are prepared with bear spray because Montana is grizzly bear country, and we decided it wasn't a weird enough interaction to pack our stuff and find a different spot. We just decided to put up an empty tent outside and sleep in my car instead, to trick people into thinking we were sleeping in the tent if they tried to attack us. Later that night, when both of us were asleep in my car, we heard branches rustling and snapping outside by the empty tent, despite the fact that it wasn't windy. Originally, we assumed it was a bear trying to climb up to the bear, hang with our food and scented hygiene products. Then we heard male voices outside, and I lifted my head up to the window and saw the same car that passed us earlier. I got off the air mattress on top of the back row of seats that we put down to make an area for us to sleep, and locked the doors individually so my car wouldn't make a beeping noise. Julia and I stayed still and hoped that the men would leave. For a while we heard them talking, but it was hard to make out what they said from inside the car. We heard more rustling and branches snapping, which made us think they were trying to steal something from the bear hang, which was weird, but neither of us wanted to actually look out the window in case one of them spotted us. Eventually, we heard the car leave, which was a huge relief, but we were too freaked out to actually leave the car until it was light outside and campers nearby would be waking up. When I got out of the nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. Above our tent, the men had hung a dead deer that was obviously killed recently because it was leaking blood everywhere on top of our tent. The internal organs were ripped out and its limbs were cut off and laid out in a circle around the tent. This is messed up on its own, but hunting permits aren't even being sold right now, which means that the deer was killed illegally to do whatever it is that those guys did. As soon as we processed what we were looking at, Julia and I freaked out and drove away without taking down our camp. Once we were in service, Julia called the police and Forest Service to report what happened while I drove home. Forest Service was nice enough to get our stuff for us, but I don't even want mine back in case there's like some weird curse on it or something. The police are looking into it to charge a fine for killing wild game during the off-season, but as far as I know, what they did to us technically isn't illegal, it's just really creepy. I haven't heard of anything like this before, but if you have, let me know. I am very curious and very spooked. I love camping so much, but after this, I don't know if I can camp for a long time.